We're sure you will find more than one franchise in this video of which you will want a new game. But that's not very likely to happen, because companies have fallen, bonds have been shattered, and sometimes publishers are just too stubborn to pick up the money we're throwing at our screens. Here are 10 great franchises that may never get another game. We can't really blame you if you're not familiar with Suikoden. Despite getting several releases here in the West, it never became a mainstream phenomenon. The RPG series made its debut on the PlayStation and Sega Saturn, while its fifth and last game was released on the PlayStation 2. All these games take place in the same world, with different and returning characters, while storylines follow each other up and sometimes overlap. These games are all about politics, corruption, and igniting a revolution. For over a decade, Konami has done nothing with the Suikoden franchise, despite some re-releases on more modern PlayStation platforms.
I wasn't quite so worried about the prince, knowing that you would be with him.
No need to thank me. I love my nephew too, you know.
In the world of role-playing games, there are only a few that reach legendary status. One of those games is EarthBound. This franchise has been dormant for years. It started in 1989 in Japan with a game called Mother, while its sequel would eventually become EarthBound. A third game was released in Japan but never made it to the West officially. Dedicated fans have been making fan translations of downloadable ROMs, and they've been begging Nintendo for more EarthBound games, but without success. Those fans now have jobs, families, and might have even become grandparents. 20 years is a long time.
You're doing pretty good there, Benny. Keep at it, buddy. Hey, you over there! Get over here! Welcome to my skate school!
If there's one game from Electronic Arts that fans have been asking for, it's Skate 4. Rumors about this game pop up every year, but EA remains tight-lipped about its skateboard franchise. The company did do a reprint of Skate 3 a couple of years ago, when sales suddenly saw a boost due to famous YouTubers that played the game a lot. It was released in 2010, and ever since, gamers have been requesting Skate 4, but without success. Now, Microsoft stepped in and is releasing a skating game called Session in early access by the end of 2018. We guess it's better than nothing.
Regardless, I'm marvelous, majestic. All my power.
We all know the Street Fighter series from Capcom, but the Japanese company also owns a series called Rival Schools. It's set in the same universe as Street Fighter, and it pits students and teachers from different schools against each other. Rival Schools made its debut on the PlayStation 1 in 1997, and it got a sequel 3 years later for arcade machines and the Sega Dreamcast. This game was called Project Justice, and it offered excellent gameplay and a deep storyline that rewarded you for losing if it serves the plot. It's unlikely this series will ever make a comeback, but we can dream, right?
One sentry on the left and one on the right. They're armed with 5.56ers and pineapples.
Metal Gear Solid is without a doubt one of the biggest franchises in gaming. The development skills from Hideo Kojima and his team were a golden goose for publisher Konami. But that was before the Japanese gaming company decided to push Kojima away. The two collided and parted ways.
What took you so long?
The Phantom Pain from 2015 was the last game in a series made by Kojima. Since then, Konami has released Metal Gear Survive, a mediocre zombie survival game which doesn't deserve to be part of the franchise. Metal Gear is no more without the involvement of Kojima, and it's likely that this franchise will never get another solid game. Advance Wars was one of the greatest games on the Game Boy Advance. The series is all about turn-based strategic combat, and it tells an amazing story about a country at war, but it gets very personal through its characters and in-game dialogue. It truly is an amazing title from the so-called Nintendo War series.
On the border between the western frontier and the Tundran territory. For months now, the site of an uneasy truce between two mighty armies.
There were 2 games on the Game Boy Advance and 2 on the Nintendo DS. But for the past 10 years, it has been silent. Not only Advance Wars, but we also haven't heard from Battalion Wars in many years. Maybe we'll hear something after Intelligent Systems finishes Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Who knows?
Do you dare to walk this path with me?
TimeSplitters is an over-the-top first-person shooter series that added lots of comedy aspects to the genre. On top of that, this PS2 series was known for its multiplayer features. It really is no wonder that TimeSplitters became a fan favorite very early on. Between 2000 and 2005, there were 3 games in the series, Future Perfect being the last one.
Time to split!
I'll get the next one.
TimeSplitters 4 was in production, but its original developer Free Radical Design got in financial troubles and was taken over by Crytek. Even though that company has interest in doing a new TimeSplitters, financially it hasn't been performing great, keeping the TimeSplitters franchise in limbo.
Cortez, you ready?
Yeah, it's time to split!
Right, whatever.
Many Japanese gaming companies launched role-playing games in the 90s. So did Capcom with Breath of Fire. Each of the 6 games in the series has its own story, even though the main protagonists Ryu and Nina always make a comeback. It's all about saving the world, mostly from corrupt religious leaders. The 5th game released in 2002 on the PS2, while the 6th game was released in 2015 on Android and iOS. The servers for this game were shut down late 2017. The series only sold 3 million copies in total worldwide, so Capcom has no plans to bring it back. For now, this franchise remains smoldering in our memories, and we can only hope it will ignite its fire once again someday.
So that's Ishimura. Impressive.
The USG Ishimura. Biggest planet cracker in her class.
The Dead Space series kicked off with an amazing 2008 debut that was full of surprises, horror, and excellent combat. It really put both game studio Visceral and the series on the map. Dead Space 2 was a very good sequel, and then came the nail in the coffin, the 2013 release of Dead Space 3. It drifted too far from its original concept and became a shooter instead of a horror experience. The game didn't meet its sales requirement of 5 million units. EA responded in a brutal way by closing the studio and putting the series on ice. There are many things that could be done to revive Dead Space. Just look at how Capcom revived the mutilated corpse of Resident Evil. But the franchise is still locked away on an abandoned station in space. The Ninja Gaiden series was already popular on classic consoles like the NES, but it made its modern breakthrough on the first Xbox in 2004. With Part 2 released in 2008 on the Xbox 360, the series had become the standard for challenging combat. But the series made a wrong turn with Ninja Gaiden 3, and Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z was the final nail in the coffin.
You're funny.
Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo decide to let the series rest for a bit, and now it has been replaced by Neo. This is the latest love child between Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo, and a sequel is already in the works. As long as people love Neo, it's not very likely that Team Ninja will return to the Ninja Gaiden series anytime soon. Let's hope we are wrong about these franchises. We sure would love to see a sequel for all of them, and there are many other game franchises out there that have been neglected lately. Will Ubisoft ever make a Splinter Cell game again? Red Faction is getting remastered, but are we getting a sequel? What's your favorite Forgotten Games franchise? Let us know in the comments or tag us in your posts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.